Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Friday night. Let's just tell some stories. I'll talk about the motorcycle industry, old school, bike shows. It's kind of a culture that's gone. There's bike shows now. I mean, I'm not suggesting they're not there. They have some cool ones too. What's that one? It's called Mama Tried. That's a good one. And there's probably 3 or 4 others that I'm well aware of that I just can't think of off the top of my head. But if you go back 20 years ago, 2005, 2004, the bike show scene was a little different. And the landscape of the motorcycle industry was different. The customers had more money. They were a little different. Everybody was a little younger. We have the same customers. They're all older. They're all on baggers. Those same guys were younger, and they were all buying choppers and bobbers. We didn't even do baggers. I never did a bagger. At least not in the old days. And when we go to the bike shows, the Rat's Hole Bike Show, there were other major magazines. The Easy Rider had their show, and was it the Iron Horse? Was that magazine? They had their show, and I don't know. There were several big shows. And you go to the big rallies. Daytona is one of the biggest, I think, the biggest rally. But the Rat's Hole was a cool show because all the major bike builders that you've ever heard of from TV, the Orange County Chopper guys, or Jesse James, Billy Lane, Indian Larry, Exile Cycles, all of them, every single one you've ever heard of, they went to the Rat's Hole. Many of them got their start at the Rat's Hole. That was where they launched their very first bike. That's where it was seen. That's where they got noticed. That's where they got their stardom. And then in 3 years, they became millionaires, and they're still there. And I got my bike right next to that motherfucker, trying to do the same thing. And the Rat's Hole was cool because it's always kind of a contained area, a big parking lot. You can put your bike there and then just take off, and some people choose to do that. But a lot of shops who are trying to promote their company and get business possibly get seen in the media or get an interview, because lots of TV networks would show up, magazines, all that. Place to be swamped with media, with press. So a shop like me, absolutely, we're gonna stand there for the whole 8 hours. They're gonna judge that shit later tonight. We're gonna be in that parking lot next to that bike the whole day. Oh, it's boring. You get sunburned as hell. A lot of people just sit and get drunk. I don't drink. So I just sit there sober, getting sunburned, eating bike week food. Bike week food is always terrible, unhealthy, expensive. And it's a rather uncomfortable experience, but you kind of bond together with everybody else there, the other shops. And right next to you, on either side, behind you, are other bikes and built by somebody that's trying to do the same thing as you. And the competition wasn't mean-spirited because we weren't hungry for that dollar. There was enough money in the industry going around. Post-2008, when Obama got elected, everything changed. And people became money hungry. It became cutthroat. All the love kind of went out the window. But in the old days, it was really just a creative expression, and the competitiveness was just around that. Look what I fabricated. I can weld better than you. I did more than you. We took it further. You know, we're cooler. We have our own style. Everybody's kind of developing their own style. Now a lot of the custom bikes look the same. Then it was kind of blasphemy to make a bike that looked like somebody else's. So very often we would enter these shows and we would just sit there and talk to whoever was set up next to us. Pass out business cards, talk to potential customers, media, whatever. I think it was 2005. I got second place that year. First place, you get a big giant trophy and a trip to Germany. Maybe a check too, I don't know. I've never won first place, I'll be honest. The guys next to me won though. Their bike was so badass. It was a Harley, but it was just customized perfect. And it wasn't radical, but it was customized perfect. They did everything. Wheels, seat, They had the right tires on it. They had the right paint job on it, the right color scheme. This bike was perfect, every nut and bolt. And it was just wickedly cool, like my style. And these guys were hilarious. They were drunk rednecks. And they had a little shop, but they were just so drunk and ornery. And they weren't like city folk. And I don't live in a city, but these are backwoods, good old boys, swamp boys, and Florida crackers, and they weren't used to being in town. They catcalled every single woman that walked by. Hey baby, making the funniest, like Andrew Dice Clay, but worse. Any guy that walked by that thought he was tough, they'd make fun of him and stand up and be like, what? These guys were both big guys, big fat rednecks. The media that walked by, they'd be like, don't look at my bike, fuck you. When the judge walked by with his clipboard, they quieted down. In fact, I was wondering how they were going to react. And he comes up, he looks at our bike. You're not allowed to talk to the judge. You can't go and have a conversation with the judge. You got to like ignore him. You know, you're not even supposed to look at him. So we're ignoring the judge as he's looking at our bike. He gets over to their bike, and I was kind of elbowing my brother. I was just like, man, I bet you they're going to start fucking with the guy, because they fuck with everybody. And they're hilarious, but these guys were just drunk and out of control. I look over, we had just been talking to them. Within like a 60-second, 30-second time period of looking back over towards them, these motherfuckers disappeared. They scattered. They flew off like crows. They were gone, like ninjas. They just disappeared. And then as soon as the clipboard judge moseyed on, they were back. And he was like at 2 bikes down, and they're making fun of him. Fuck that guy, fuck that judge, fuck this, fuck you, what are you looking at? Making kisses to old ladies, and these guys were hilarious. And they won. They got first place. They took the trophy. They got the trip to Germany. I can only imagine what they were like when they got to Germany. The good old days.